What up, y'all? Live on YouTube and TikTok. I'm on with you guys today to just talk about a single topic, and that is hard press versus soft press. I asked a question today in my live. No, actually, not in my live. I did ask this on YouTube today. Hard press versus soft press. What do you guys prefer? And I got quite a few answers. I think soft press is kind of winning here at the moment, but we will. I'm just going to talk about soft press, what it is for those who don't know anything about it, and then who should use it, when you should use it, and just my whole entire philosophy on this. Full disclosure, I will let you guys know that I am more of a hard press guy versus a soft press guy. I believe in disrupting the wide receiver at the line of scrimmage and changing the shape of the route. With that said, I am not one of these hardcore hard press guys where it's either hard press or it's nothing. It's not that. I prefer that a guy use a technique that he is comfortable with. I would start off by teaching you hard press. We would talk some about soft press, and I'd observe you to see which one you seem to be more comfortable with and kind of let you go there. You do need to have both in your arsenal. You need to have them both in your repertoire, let's say, because there are going to be situations where you absolutely need to be hard pressed. And there are going to be some situations where you are going to benefit from using a soft press, even if you are a hard press guy. So I will talk about some of those situations. And then I will talk about the type of guys that need to use one technique over the other. So we'll just cover all of that in the short space of amount of time that I'm going to be here. This is not going to be a crazy long live. You know, sometimes I say that and it just ends up being real long. So let's just get down to the point. What is hard press? In a nutshell, hard press is when you are holding your line at that line of scrimmage. You're not giving any ground when that receiver comes off the line of scrimmage and you're trying to make something happen right there. If he's coming straight at you, you're trying to get two hands on him and get a very disruptive jam. If he's trying to go outside of you, you are using a kick slide to widen him. And if he's within range, you are getting an offhand jam on him, and it should be very aggressive. And that's whether he's going inside or outside. So hard press is contact. All right. We're trying to get hands on this guy. Two hands, one hand. We're trying to get hands on this guy. And if he doesn't want hands on him, he's going to have to run away from it. That means he's running towards the sidelines, or he's running in there and he's going to meet the middle linebacker, or he's going to end up running into a safety. That is what hard press is about. Soft press is where you are giving some ground at that line of scrimmage. You're trying to play a waiting game with the wide receiver where he is trying to make you commit and you're trying to make him commit. If I could, that's the best way that I could describe that. One of y'all is going to commit first. Hopefully it's him. He's feeling more pressure and he hops off and decides which way he's going to go, inside or out. After that, you're trying to attach to his hip, run with him on the route, and, you know, basically be there at the end, whether it's a deep ball or a route that's breaking off. Okay. There's two basic types of soft press techniques. One where you're inching, where you might get your hands on that wide receiver. You still have an opportunity to kick slide when he exits outside of you and get hands on. And then there's motor mirror, where you're really not trying to get hands on that guy. You may, but it's not your objective. You're pretty much just kind of pedaling out of there. And I have videos in the All Eyes DB Camp members area that totally breaks down all of the techniques and tips and tricks to those different techniques, both hard and soft. But you're just trying to mirror his release, stay in front of him as long as you can. And then as he takes off vertically up the field and you're attaching to his hip. And the idea is you just want to match his speed, match his release, and be there at the end. And a lot of times you're just trying to stay over the top of the route. You don't want the guy's speed to just blast by you and get beat. For that reason, I feel like that's when the question gets asked to most defensive backs. They tend to lean towards soft press because it feels a little bit safer. By the way, Desmond, just to answer your question, I'm in South Florida. So it just feels safer. You don't want to get beat deep. The big route that everyone worries about when they're playing press man, especially in a one-on-one situation at a camp where there's no safety help or anything like that, is the fade ball. And so they feel like backing out of there. If I can get over the top of this, I can prevent him from getting deep. And we, stop him from getting that big blur sound and hitting me for a big one, because that's kind of embarrassing. I understand it. However, that technique is going to open up the rest of the tree for the wide receiver, especially a lot of things going inside. So the slant route becomes very difficult to cover when you're using a motor mirror technique. Curl routes, dig routes, anything going across the field, because you're backing out and you're giving the wide receiver unfiltered access to the big part of the field. That doesn't really happen as much in hard press. The thing with hard press, the disadvantages to hard press is if you're just not very solid on it, you can get caught with your feet at the line of scrimmage. Yes, the receiver can get outside of you and take off up the field, and it turns into a foot race. And, if the guy is faster than you, then, you're going to end up losing that battle. And hopefully the ball is overthrown, underthrown, whatever the case may be. And that is the biggest fear for most guys. They just don't want to get caught in that situation. And so that's the drawback on hard press. I would say this to you: if you're a guy that you come and train with me one-on-one, or you are in my All Eyes DB Camp members area, or if you have a copy of 101 DB Tips, you're going to learn how to play hard press the right way. Are any of these techniques foolproof? Like you can never get beat in them? Absolutely not. You're going to get beat playing defensive back. And if you're not getting beat, if you never get beat playing defensive back, you just haven't covered people that are good. That's just the long and short of it. One of the things you've got to learn playing this position is that you will get beat. You do got to get back up, go play the next play. It's like a batter in baseball saying, I'm never going to strike out or make an out. You will strike out. You will make an out. You got to come back to the plate the next time up and try to get a hit, try to, do something good with your at bat. And so that is the case. Neither one of these, none of the three techniques, but we're basically talking hard press and soft press is going to save you from getting beat. Now, first of all, let's talk about who should use which technique. In a perfect world for me, all guys would use hard press. With that said, hard press is a better technique, I must say, for guys, for your bigger defensive backs. You're 6'1", 6'2" guys. You're 5'11" guys. All right. A guy like Darrelle Revis, who was an avid user of hard press, was a 5'11" defensive back. Okay. And he used hard press technique to perfection. Richard Sherman was a 6'3" defensive back that used hard press to perfection. And these two guys played in the same era. And they were very, very aggressive cornerbacks, and they disrupted the routes. And that tends to be something I really, really care about. Having been on the other side of the ball, being an offensive coordinator at one point, a wide receiver coach, that is very difficult for wide receivers and for offensive personnel to deal with. Quarterback is going to take a certain drop. When he gets to the top of that drop, he's ready to release the football. If the wide receiver is in contact with the DB, or just now getting off the contact, or he doesn't get to a certain amount of depth, that causes problems for you offensively. And again, it's very, very disruptive. With that said, over the years, often wide receivers have gotten really good at avoiding contact at the line of scrimmage. And so, that's the situation that you get, and guys don't feel all that comfortable trying to sit there at the line of scrimmage and put hands on a guy. But with that said, bigger defensive backs have more reach, more range. When they kick slide, they are covering more ground, and they have a better opportunity to disrupt the wide receiver's release, make him run around, and cause more disruption. So it's a bit of a better technique for the bigger guys with the longer arms. That's just the truth of it. Okay. So I prefer to see bigger cornerbacks using the hard press technique, because really, what are you doing up there if you're not using that? Typically, your bigger, longer corners don't have as quick of feet. If you're one of those guys, don't go getting angry with me. I'm just saying typically bigger, longer corners have slower feet than a smaller guy. So you don't want to play the soft press game where you're trying to dance and stay in front of a wide receiver. On most wide receivers, you're going to lose that battle because they're going to be quicker guys than you. So why not use what you have as a strength, which is your long arms, your range, and just your size and your width. Okay. You should be more into using that because that is your advantage. Plus, with your size comes a little bit more weight usually. And so the thud of your hands on the wide receiver is going to have a little bit more impact usually. And so that is another reason why you would use it. You want to knock guys off balance. You want to be physical. And to be honest, in this game of football, as we saw in the Super Bowl, the more physical you could be, the quicker you can get guys to quitting, right? If they're just getting hit off that line of scrimmage, wide receivers don't want to be touched. All right, let's just be honest. Okay. Some of them like contact. Some of them say they like contact, but by and large, man, they don't like that kind of contact. All right. They just don't. They don't. That's not what they want. So if you're out there hitting their shoulders, hitting their chest, and knocking them off balance and running them off their routes, and they can't use all their sweet releases, they can get really frustrated, and some guys will quit on you. All right. So that would be a reason why, as a big corner, you would want to use that. So big corners, 5'11 guys and up, hard press is where it's at for you. I would urge you to learn that. All right. Right now, you guys can hit me in the chat and tell me which one of those you prefer if you didn't get to that question earlier today. Are you a hard press guy? Or are you a soft press guy? Go ahead and drop that in the comment section for me right now. I'd like to get just a gauge and an idea. And also, you can tell me in one word or one sentence why it is you prefer which one of those that you like. Why do you prefer hard press over soft press? Why do you prefer soft press over hard press? Go ahead and drop that in a comment for me right now. Okay, so who should use soft press? Obviously, the guys that are on the smaller side. You're 5'11, 5'10, 5'9, 5'8 guys. Why? Because it tends to reason you guys will have the quicker feet. And so you can play that mirror game. You can use your quickness to your advantage. You have a better chance to stay in front of wide receivers using your feet. The thing that bothers me is that guys can get too much into the mirroring and using of the feet. And now you've just totally forgotten what press coverage is even all about. And that is getting hands on. Again, if you're a motor mirror guy, your opportunities to put hands on a wide receiver are decreased because by the time the wide receiver reaches you, he's got a good amount of speed going, and you don't want to run the risk of selling out on some kind of a jam where your feet stop while he's running at a pretty good rate of speed, and now you're in chase mode. And then the whole thing is, why did you even bother to be in, soft press anyway if you end up trailing a guy? The thing about soft press is you're not there to trail the guy. You're there to be over the top. That is the objective. If you're soft pressing and then ending up underneath the wide receiver, well, then you have failed. This was not the best thing for you to be doing. Okay. So, but I do recommend it. If you have to choose one technique over the other, if you're a smaller guy, 5'10 on down, learn the soft press techniques. And again, I have tutorials on all of these techniques in the All Eyes DB Camp members area. If you're on YouTube, you see a link to it down below. I talk about it in the book 101 DB Tips. So for my TikTok audience, you guys can hit the link in my bio, and you definitely should have a copy of that book. I talk about a lot of things in there. One of them is the All Eyes, the book 101 DB Tips. So you guys just bear with me here a minute, but that is, some of the stuff that you guys can take a look at. All right. That's one of the reasons why you would get the book. Because I know you guys want to be good at your press man coverage. All right. You definitely want to be good at that. You guys are going to be going out to camps and all that. And I think on TikTok, I just put a link to the book 101 DB Tips in the right there on the live. So you guys can check it out there. A lot of great stuff there. But nevertheless, that's who you should use it. Now, for all of you guys out there, whether you are 5'8", or you're 6'2", 6'3", I'm going to talk to you about the situations in which you would use either one of these techniques. When do you want to use hard press? You want to use hard press in short yardage situations. Okay. It just really blows my mind when you have a 3rd down and 3, 3rd down and 4, and a guy pedals out of there, and then inevitably you get a quick slant. And it's easy pickings. Quarterback sees the wide receiver's numbers, drills the ball into his chest, ball is caught, 1st down, and the drive is extended. All of them big guys, all of those defensive tackles that were running around for the last 3-4 plays are pissed at you now because you gave up that easy slant. That's not the time for you to be using that. So even if you're a soft press guy, this is where I tell you want to have that hard press technique available to you. You definitely want to have that in your back pocket because that's when you would want to unleash it. You want to meet that guy at the line of scrimmage. If he's going down on a quick slant, you want to be able to attach to his hip right away and be on his body ready to knock that ball down if it's a quick slant, okay? That motor mirror stuff and inch stuff tends to give up those quick slants. Shallow routes are also a problem against soft press technique. So you're going to want to use a hard press technique in that situation. Also, when you get reduced splits, I know guys want to use a soft press technique because they kind of want the receiver to get out of all of the garbage and trash that's in there. All of the linemen that are in there, they want to let a guy get out of there. But one of the big reasons why they do reduce splits and they do bunch sets is to run guys underneath. And if you back out of there and that guy goes underneath, he's not coming back, man. All right. That's going to be a hard cover for you to get. You're going to have to go chase that guy through all of the traffic that you were originally worried about anyway. So my idea to you guys is that when you get that reduced split and there's so much stuff around you, why not trap that wide receiver in all of that? Okay. Your defensive end is right there. The receiver is right there. And maybe there's another receiver outside of him. He's in a box. Why would you let him out of that box? That's when you want to use your hard press technique. Trap that guy in there. And if he does eventually go underneath, then you're close. You're right there on him. You just trail him and go underneath. But at least you make it difficult for him to get out of that box. If he's in that box, stay in that box. So that's a situation where you'd want to use hard press. Another time is down in the red zone and the low red zone. Okay. So I'm talking like 7 yards, 5 yards going into that end zone. You would rather want to use the hard press there, okay? Sometimes a soft press is great if they're going to run a fade, but what if they are running that slant? And you know, if you've watched any kind of football or you played, you've been in this situation, that slant comes really quick down there. And if you're motoring out and that guy puts his foot in the ground and turns inside, that's a quick slant, hitting the chest, he's over the goal line, touchdown, and you gave up a touchdown, all right? So you want to be in more of a hard press situation there. So those are the times, if we're talking about just the situations, whether you're a tall guy or a short guy, where you would want to use hard press. Short yardage, reduce splits, red zone. So with that said, now when would we want to use a soft press technique? Soft press technique is for when there's a lot of space between you and that wide receiver. So let's say he's a Z receiver and he's to the side of the tight end, he's off the ball. That is a time where you might want to give a little bit of ground because there's so much space between you to start with, and lining up there in a hard press situation, you might, the receiver might have enough room to run around you and get outside of you. If there's space, plus the ball is on the far hash, and I'm talking really specifically to my college and pro guys, my college and high school guys, where the hashes are really wide, if you find yourself to this field and you're kind of one-on-one, maybe the receiver singled up to that side, or there's a tight end way inside and he's off the ball and there's a lot of space between you, you are going to want to give some kind of room there. You are going to want to deploy a soft press technique. So maybe you inch if you're a real, hard press guy, or if you're a motor mirror guy, that's a good time to use it. So that's when you'd want to use a soft press. As I mentioned, sometimes down in the red zone, the soft press technique can help you against a fade. I would say more in a high red zone area. So between the 10 and the 20-yard line, that's where you might want to use a soft press technique. Even if they slide in there and they get a slant route on you, if you're close enough, you go in there, you get a guy tackled, and you don't give up the touchdown. Also, if you have a feeling like, all right, if you've done some good stuff watching film and you feel like that fade is coming, then yeah, you might want to deploy a soft press technique. So are you seeing where it's probably in your best interest to have both of those techniques in your tool belt? I understand that. So, your team loves screens and they never work. All right, I get that. Unfortunate for you, but nevertheless, that's a time where you might want to use a soft press technique. For teams out there where you run quarters and you run quarters press, you definitely want to use a soft press technique. I don't care if you're a hard press guy or not. If you're playing quarters press, you're going to want to use a soft press technique, and especially a motor technique where you're getting out of there and you're staying over the top of the routes, because that is the ultimate thing that you need to do in quarters is stay over the top of the route. If they run a slant route, that's not you. Okay. If they run a quick out, probably going to get completed, which would be kind of wild against that, but you never know. Team might run that. If they catch that, okay, fine, come up, make a tackle. That's not really what you're guarding against in quarters. So if you're a quarters team and the team runs quarters press, find yourself in soft press. Learn how to use that technique. That's probably going to be the best thing for you there. All right. So definitely a situation where you'd want to use soft press. So now that we understand what soft press is, now that we understand which technique is probably best for which type of guy and the situations in which you want to use it, I think you guys are now better equipped. So now how do we get better at these things? You've got to spend the time, obviously, practicing both of these techniques. Determine which one of those techniques are better and work for you. Having said all that, before I even get into all that, you may have a coach that is telling you it's my way or the highway. So you're either doing hard press or you're not on the field, or you're doing soft press and you're not on the field, in which case you got to do what the coach says. All right. Don't go out there trying to run your own technique and think that you're going to have a great relationship with the coach and he's not, you guys aren't going to have problems and he's not going to, put you on the bench or whatever the case may be. So if your coach is adamant about you using one technique over the other, guess what, man? You're just going to have to learn that technique and try to master it. Okay. Doesn't mean you might not work on that other technique a little bit on your own time. You might want to do that in case you want to unleash it somewhere, or you end up going somewhere else somehow, you graduate, whatever the case may be. Kids leave and come and go from schools now like crazy. So at least have that in your arsenal ready to use. For my coaches out there, I would highly recommend this. And I understand what happens. You got taught a technique. Maybe that's what you guys played when you were playing, or you go to a clinic and you learn all the ins and outs of it. And that's the technique that you know, and you're not so sure about the other technique. So you don't want to be trying to tell guys to use that because you can't help them. Hey, learn all the techniques. All right. Learn all of the techniques and how they work. Because when you get to a situation where you can teach both and you can allow guys to do what they're comfortable with, you're going to get the max out of all of your players. You're going to get the max out of all of your players. And then you're going to be able to get the max out of all of these different situations, because sometimes you will need hard press. Sometimes you will need soft press. If you are not sure about how to use one of these techniques that I'm talking about, again, All Eyes DB Camp members area, I'll have a link to it. If any of you guys that are following me on TikTok, I don't know that I have a link to it there. Maybe you hit the link in the description. It might be there. If not, and you want to join, you guys send me send me a message there. For you guys that are watching me on YouTube, just hit the link in the description to this video, or you just go to the homepage for this YouTube channel and you will see information on it there. If not, you can always email me, cwilson@alleyeasdbcamp.com, and I'll get you whatever information that you need. So coaches and players, if you want to learn about this, but coaches, try to learn all of those techniques. It's just going to make you a better coach. You're going to get more out of your players, because you don't want to be sitting there with a 5'8", 5'9" corner that can actually play, and you're hardcore pushing him into that hard press technique and he's struggling with it, and you can't get the most out of this player that would be great otherwise. It would hurt you for that guy to leave and then just go blow up at another school simply because you were forcing him to do something that he just really was not good at. So, and then it's also good to be able to tell guys, in this situation, guys, this is the technique that we're going to play, and have the guys play it well. And then in this situation right here, guys, we're playing hard press and you take away the slants on a 3rd and 3. That's going to give you a really great feeling. Your guys are going to feel good. The defensive coordinator is going to feel great. Head coach is going to feel great. Fans are going to feel great. This is just a great thing all around. So I hope that I've done a pretty good job explaining to you the difference in all of these techniques. And also, I hope I've done a good job in explaining the types of guys that need to use each one of these techniques, but more importantly, the situations in which you guys need to use these techniques. And once again, if you guys want more information on this, both the techniques and how to use them, when to use them, and who should use them, come join me in the All Eyes DB Camp members area, or pick up a copy of my book, 101 DB Tips. There are links to it here. My TikTok audience, you should see a link right here on this live. If not, head over to the shop. That's part of you should head over to the shop, which is part of my account. You guys on YouTube, the link should be in the description. It's all over my website. I've created those things to help you guys, not just with press technique, but all of the techniques that are out there. All right. Whether you're playing off man, you're playing zone, you're training in the off season, how to play in a slot. I talk about catch technique. I talk about scooch technique, all those great things, all of those techniques, because, I got to benefit from all of these coaches that I had while I was playing, and then all of the coaching that I did, and then all of the years of training. All right. I've got a lot of years under my belt, and so it has helped me be good in all of this. All right. I'm going to head out. Don't know if I've got any questions here from my audience. Let me just run through, see if I've got any Q&As. You guys on my YouTube audience, you guys feel free to drop any questions if you have any in there. Otherwise, I think this has been great. I'm going to have to start doing this more often. Looking forward to doing these. I'll probably use Tuesday if I can. Come on. We just hit it hardcore on one particular topic and, just get it knocked out. And you guys take what you can from it. All right. That's it for me. I'm heading out. As always, All Eyes DB Camp. Consistency breeds results.